I want to thank the Sheraton Hotel as well for hosting this event, and it was so exciting to come to this iconic place, the epicenter of the election, in order to launch this book. And also, of course, I want to thank the team from Malaysia Kini, led by Prem and Stephen. And of course, the publishers from Gerrit Badaya, Pak Chong and Charles Brophy, for taking a punt on the book, and let's hope it was worth it. But almost as much as anything, my wonderful team of volunteers. I'm so grateful to all of you. You've done so much, not just on the book, but you know, we've worked together and you've been at my back all this time. Sam, Cece, Yolanda, Pip, Beatrice, Karen, Amy, Robin, Hilary, Linda, and so many others. And Tony, thank you for your very kind words, always laced with a little barb. You have been an absolute key ally, or should I say, co-conspirator or collaborator over these last 2 years. If I broke the story, it was Tony who rammed it home and who issued those relentless press releases that kept Najib and BN on the run. He didn't let them hide. We got those facts out. And, you know, with his forensic financial brain, I was always very grateful to be able to bring back, you know, all these documents that I was turning up. And I'd say, come on, Tony, what does this mean? And, you know, he'd sort of kind of work it out and work where the money might have come from and where it might have gone. So, you know, I don't know what we'd have done without you, Tony. You're a hero of Malaysia, you really are. But you know, in fact, this is a project that has involved so many people to whom I'm indebted, some of whom have supported me completely anonymously, people who joined in and sometimes risked a great deal to expose wrongdoing, all for the same reason, because they thought it was the right thing to do. I experienced an astonishing upsurge of that sort of dedicated support that would have cost a fortune in salaries if anyone had set about commissioning so many bright and professional people. They became a veritable army to draw on. People would email, for example, as Tony said, hi, you know, I've been looking through the published figures or reports for this company or that, and there's a total conflict with what 1MDB and Prime Minister are saying. Really? I would say. Well, I'd take a look, and yes, they'd be right, and I'd write a story. Critics would condemn what they described as the Rewcastle Brown publishing empire. It was a backhanded compliment that we used to laugh at. But to an extent, that's what we became, a ragtag guerrilla outfit that took on a multi-million-dollar communications operation and gave as good as we got. Truth is immensely powerful, and hope can move mountains, and we proved just that. Certainly it was that friendship from so many Malaysians and other well-wishers from across the world which more than anything has kept me going through some pretty hostile times writing Sarawak Report. Together it made us a force to reckon with, not thanks to money or resources, but to a determination to counter corruption and stand up for the rule of law. So let me say this, if cash is king, checkmate. The same determination is what changed Malaysia on May the 9th. So again, I thank all of you, and let's celebrate what's been achieved together. So what of this book I've written, the story behind the blog? Well, it's really just my perspective on the events that consumed us, all to a greater or lesser degree, as 1MDB scandal unfolded with all the momentous consequences that brought. Others will have seen things differently, and I hope you will forgive me for the omissions or the misinterpretations or any offence I might unwittingly have caused, some of them perhaps less unwittingly. There will be much better histories of this whole affair, but my account represents how it feels to be a journalist who suddenly realizes they've identified what promises to be a huge story and then goes about uncovering it. And then what it feels like to reap the consequences of simply infuriating a hornet's nest of rich, powerful, and sometimes downright dangerous people. In short, it's been hugely exciting. People have said this about the 1MDB saga, that it's been like following a movie. And for me, it's been like living in a movie much of the time, full of twists and turns, and indeed no shortages of alarming moments. No one should go into journalism to get rich or for a safe, secure occupation. But in terms of sheer adventure, job satisfaction, and hoping to make a difference, it's a great life choice, if you can get the freedom to do the job properly. And I hope that with the change that has happened, that will be an option for many more young Malaysians in the future, because I passionately believe that they will play a vital role in keeping safe your hard-won, renewed democracy. When I first presented my draft of this riveting saga, the agents and publishers in the UK responded rather in the way that Tony did. They didn't read it, they weighed it. And obviously, they said it was too long. Surely you can boil down this David and Goliath number into 180 pages to make for a quick read that people can pick up at the airport. Well, no, I said, because so much happened. You know, you cannot believe the places this story went. It started in the longhouses of Sarawak and then reached into Hollywood, Vegas, the finance houses of the globe, Treasure Islands, mega yachts, Capitol Hills, Beijing, rogue bankers, lawyers, fake news providers. We exposed them all. This story of 1MDB encapsulates so much of what's happening in the world today, and it isn't being sufficiently told, or I think understood, how a mega powerful political and financial global elite increasingly feel that they can exploit the vulnerable within impunity. And I would come to a halt breathlessly. Well, the publisher said, you can at least leave out most of the stuff about the political side in Malaysia and the issues to do with the rainforest and so many characters we don't know about yet. To which I replied, if you had lived through all this drama like people in Malaysia have, then I'm sure you'd want to hear about those details. So, like my blog in the first place, I rejected their London-centric views, and I've written this book primarily with Malaysians in mind. So I risk the jibe that you might find it hard to pick up as a result, but I also very much hope that you'll find it hard to put down. However, I suspect that many of you in the room are here today, and I'm very flattered to see some prominent faces. You could primarily be here to check as soon as possible whether you feature in my account of this national story in all its glory. And if so, what I might have said about you. Unfortunately, the tag whistleblower sticks. In fact, I know that a lot of my pre-sales have come from people anxious to do just that. In some cases, we thought that it would probably wiser to just send their money back, if only to hold off their threatening lawyers until the deed was safely done. But if you're here for a quick flick through with such things in mind, I have a bit of bad news. Since for a number of reasons, there is no index in this print run, so I'm afraid people will have to buy the book and read it all the way through just to find out what I'm saying about whom and what. And remember, if you're hiring liable lawyers to do it for you, those fellows read notoriously slowly and charge a fortune per minute. In fact, a cheaper option would be doubtless to buy up all the copies of the book instead. I can see you behind the room behind. Such minor concerns, however, have not, as you may have gathered, prevented some of the characters, who have quite rightly guessed that they might make a star appearance in my little narrative, from hiring the most expensive libel firms in the UK to warn my publishers to stop distributing it or face serious damages. They claim concern that I may have defamed them in some way. One wonders why. Except the same lawyers are simultaneously warning that these very clients, who are responsible for no wrongdoing whatsoever, also fear they may shortly be facing charges of some kind relating to 1MDB, in which case to publish information about them would allegedly prejudice their right to a fair trial, resulting in further serious damages, of course. So it seems that's what stolen money can buy for you these days. You can not only threaten damages on the grounds that you are entirely innocent, but you can also, in case you turn out to be not so innocent after all. You may have seen in the international press recent reports that the FBI are at this very moment investigating the links between 1MDB's missing money and certain payments to the very same law firms and PR outfits who are making these sorts of threats and arguments. Who could have missed Joe Low's Australian PR company's pronouncements last week, informing that Joe Low would not submit to a jurisdiction which he described as advancing a corrupt political agenda without any form of legal process. It's an infuriating thought, isn't it? Malaysia's stolen public money funding these sorts of insults against the new democratically elected government made by a gang of people who don't even dare show their faces. And it's not just a matter of insults, but continuing injury to the rights of Malaysians who want to know what's going on and to see justice done. My UK publisher pulled out over the prospect of the experience of fighting over such crazy issues, as indeed did one of the world's largest publishers, Hachette, who have also now declined to publish the Wall Street Journal's billion-dollar whale book in the UK. And that's owing to the relentless exploitation by the super rich of Britain's absurdly outdated libel laws, which go back to the days of duelling in advance. And we really need to get back and sort those out. But the good news is, here in KL, you still have your chance to lay your hands on these endangered volumes, for now at least, because as you can see, I'm publishing anyway, since I believe that the truth and public interest come first. And I think you do too. A small Malaysian publisher is also sticking with me and distributing the book on the same principle. Let's see how long we hold out. No lawyer has yet had the cheek to come to Malaysia and argue that people shouldn't be publishing books about 1MDB, but maybe they will. Maybe they'll secure some sort of injunction. You never know these days. So my advice is to rush out there and quickly buy the book while you're still able.